Hi, my name is Michael Pearson. I was born April 8, 1949 in the town of Rogersville, Tennessee. It was a small town of less than 10,000 people. We all lived close to each other, but we also knew that we had our place in society. White kids knew that there were certain things that they could do, and black kids knew that there were certain things that they couldn't do. There was white schools and black schools. A lot of our books were hand-me-downs. We would get books that the white school had already used to buy food, but you couldn't actually sit down and eat the food in the restaurant. So you could go in, order at the counter, and then they would bring the food to you outside. I never noticed any separate drinking fountains, and Tennessee is a kind of a border state. It wasn't it was a lot of segregation, but it wasn't as severe as, say, Mississippi and Louisiana and Alabama. The movie theater was called the Roxy, and there was the white-only area, which was on the bottom floor of the movie theater, and then there was blacks only in the balcony. Living in Chicago was like night and day. My first experience in school, it was all different races, white, black, Hispanic, Asian. We all went to the same school. Everyone was friends. You got the same education. The only obstacles in Chicago was not race, but economic. You could afford it, you can go there. Whereas in the South, you could be rich, you could have all the money, but there was no way that you were going to be able, money could not change the status quo. When I arrived in Los Angeles, I was in the 8th grade. As for social interaction, Los Angeles was completely open in Los Angeles. I have to say though, you know, racism can be anywhere, and it's not as blatant as in the South, but yes, I have experienced racism in Chicago and Los Angeles, and it's a quiet racism. At the time I attended Dorsey High School, it was mixed, white, blacks, and Japanese students, and some Hispanics. We all kind of got along together. I was in sports. I had friends who were Japanese, who were white and black. Have dances, and everyone would be there. Japanese, blacks, whites, Hispanics. We all danced together, which was totally out of the question in the South. Right after I got out of high school, I was drafted in the Army. It was 1968 because racism in the Army was as blatant in some situations as in the South, because a lot of your officer corps were old Southern boys. Martin Luther King was assassinated one day before my birthday. And one of the things that most apparent to me that happened is that when we were out on patrol and in the jungle, the Viet Cong, or the North Vietnam soldiers, they left little leaflets around in the jungle, and they said that, in so many words, black brothers, your leader has been assassinated by your white oppressors. You should rise up and kill your leaders. There was a lot of social unrest. At that time it was Black Power. You had the Panthers, who actually came on the campus of UCLA at one time. At the time I was with the Department of Children and Family Services, there was over 56,000 kids in foster care. Now it's a lot less, but at that time it was. At that time it was about 50% Afro-Americans and probably 25 or 30% of white. The percentage of Afro-American kids in the population was less than 10% in Los Angeles County, but Here you have 50% in foster care. And a lot of kids were detained because of economic conditions. Many times when, my wife's name is Nancy. Many times when Nancy and I were together, we were victims of obvious racism at certain situations. We've actually been to a restaurant where the reservationist actually had a reservation for us and didn't know that we were a mixed couple. And when we came into the restaurant and she found out that we were a mixed couple, she immediately said, "Oh, your reservations are not available. I'm sorry, we don't have a table for you." Deep-seated thoughts of racism still existed because generations hadn't changed yet. When we went through the South in our travels, we still encountered quiet racism, as I say, words that you knew that you wasn't welcome in a certain location. Has it changed? Yes, because now there is really a lot of kids of mixed race. I think that racism is antiquated. I think it's for folks who are living in the past. I was just totally thrilled, and I was thrilled for the country, but you know what I was thrilled for? I was thrilled for my mom and dad, who were able to be alive, to be able to see a black president. You realize that when they were little kids in the 20s and 30s and 40s, a dream like that was like so far-fetched, it was almost impossible to imagine. And for them to wake up one morning and there is the black president on TV, my mother cried her eyes out. And I felt that this was something that is going to change this country. I think it's changing the country. I really do. Because you know what it's doing? It's exposing who really are racist. I think white people are scared of black people in the sense that they live on myths. They always think of certain things about black people that they've read about or someone has told them about it. And then it doesn't help that if you look at the crime stats, that what comes up on the TV is some black criminal that's, and then it's also how the news media and TVs and movies and everything, they've already created the hardcore black guy, the tough gangbanger, the slick pimp. All those things are cemented in white people's minds, and they think that this is how a lot of black people are until they interact with you. I think kids of mixed race has the most wonderful opportunity to be able to change the country and change thinking about race, because they're a product of both sides, and they can actually be on one side at any point in time, or they can be on the other side. But what kids of mixed race really understand is that they don't see any type of difference. They're colorblind. So when these kids go out amongst other kids, they are just as accepting of white kids as black kids. It's almost like a gray area. I mean, they don't have any oppositions on either side. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for society to be able to, if society could live through the eyes of a mixed race kid, then they would see what society should be.